podcast about comics. A podcast about comics.
A podcast about comics is Nerding with Friends. This is your boy, T'Challa BP74, along with my dude.
Salutations, my fellow blurs, nerds, and peaceful herds. It's your boy, Codename Comic, coming to you from the Nerding with Friends podcast. How y'all doing this afternoon?
Good. We about to drop this 9-issue review on the Whatif series. You ready to go?
You already know.
Strap on in, guys. Let's ride. So first up, we have the Captain Carter issue.
Okay.
Right? And first of all, let me tell you, I thought all the episodes was amazing.
Talking what ifs, right?
What ifs?
Okay. I'm not gonna lie to you and say I thought every episode was amazing. I thought every episode was good in its own right.
Unique in its own way?
Unique in its own way.
Okay.
There were a couple of them I had some hang-ups with, but I feel like for what it was, for when you watch them all together as a package deal, it was everything I needed it to be.
Okay. Because some was a little better than some. Yeah, some were more biased on than others.
Exactly. There was rises and falls in action and just the storytelling. But all in all, I thought it was the perfect view of the outside realms or the outside universes or dimensions that we likely won't get a chance to see throughout all this stuff going on in the Marvel universe. So I thought it was perfect for them to show us it immediately after Loki, as opposed to allowing us to kind of spectate and determine what worlds are they gonna pull apart or pull from. So it's like it allowed Disney to control the narrative while also maintaining the storyline that they already created for themselves, which is pretty brilliant. So like I said, for what it was, I thought it was perfect. I thought DC was going to be the ones that were going to take this multiverse thing and blow it up. And blow it up, but you see, Marvel took the idea of it and fine-tuned it to such a degree. Perfected it. Because they not only showed you that it is in existence, but they show you how it is in existence. And it worked in a way that we saw it happen on screen. Yeah. So I just the writing of it all.
Okay, now let me ask you this. Do you think it's more of a game plan? Why they know where they... I mean... Granted, there's a lot of factors, right? But being that them guys are so good over there at Disney/Marvel about playing the long game, they would literally like structure stuff, right?
Yeah, I think you're really onto something there because of their genuine demeanor in playing the long game. I think they also realize that the long game doesn't just apply to what's happening on screen. It also applies to what's happening in the world. So if you maintain a certain placement within society as far as like the way your movies and your shows kind of are produced, then you're able to capture the immediate reaction of people because it's something that they're feeling like almost in real time. Okay. And one thing that I'll say it to the end of this day, I called it out because I pay attention to things like this is something that came to fruition at the end of the series, which I would say the Natasha situation. Yeah. It's like the way that they played the situation, it literally happened, like the whole settlement and all that stuff, it happened a week before the last episode. Yeah. So now knowing
so it's almost as if they had multiple different endings.
And I was just about to say, it's almost like they were prepared for it. It's like, if this gets worked out, then we have our game plan. Yeah. And knowing that, it's like, I don't think they expected to lose, but I think they saw the forest through the trees. As you see situations start to kind of play themselves out, it's like we can't really dog her out.
Here's the thing, though. They never used the actress to voice her own character.
They didn't.
They used Chadwick to voice himself. They used Sebastian Stan to voice himself. They use the guy who plays Yondu. Yeah. They got him. Denai Guerrero voiced herself.
Another one they didn't get to voice himself was Peter Parker.
True.
Which
they even got John Connie and bring him back to play T'Chaka, right?
And to even have his face like that took like in itself. It just shows it's like they really wanted to make this about the universe that they already created.
Let me ask you this: what was more amazing, that they got him digitized enough to use his face, or did they get his voice and attach that to the younger T'Chaka.
It was the younger T'Chaka part. I almost wanted to see him fight because I feel like we were robbed of that a little bit. Like when we saw, T'Chaka in the Black Panther movie at the beginning, we were able to see him in the suit, but we didn't get a chance to see him really do anything.
I was a little disappointed that we didn't get his son. What is his name?
Which son?
John Connie's younger son, the one who actually plays the young T'Chaka. Because they never de-aged him.
That's true.
Like they did for Carrie Fisher and Princess Leia. They actually used his real life son and cast him as a younger version of himself.
See, now that's cool. I didn't actually know that.
In What If, the way he looks is the way how the son looks, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you heard John Connie's voice.
So it's like, that's he. Now I'm taking, I didn't know that. So that just kind of shows in itself, just not a lot of actors that could really do that. I feel like even with, Denzel and his son, it might sound the same, but they don't look that similar. Yeah. So you couldn't make, a change like that. But, speaking of changes, I want to transition into, good old Captain Carter. I thought this episode was the best to me because they did a really good job of showing how something so minuscule, such a slight change of her deciding not to go upstairs but to stay downstairs changed the entire
spectrum, right?
Yeah.
And if she took the serum or Steve didn't get the serum instead of her, right?
Exactly. And it seems like just in the grand scheme of things, it shouldn't have changed that much, but one of the things I thought about as I watched it a second time is one of the reasons why it changed because of who she is. Mm-hmm. She saved the day in a way. It got to a point where two things happened. She shot the guy who had the serum, who was going to run off with it because that guy shot Steve. Mm-hmm. And she made the final decision, whereas the U.S. was about to lose the opportunity of having a super soldier. And at that point, one of the big things they said after she had taken it is they called it a failure. So they were ready to lose billions and billions of dollars of research and mechanics because rather than having a woman have the serum. And that in itself, it just really showed the way that the world was back then, and it shows that the way that the world is trying to transition now. And that just kind of doubles down to what we were saying before about how Disney has a really good way of manifesting the realities of society today into their storytelling.
They're more relatable.
Yeah,
you can connect.
Exactly.
Out of all their projects, one of the ones that I've had a hard time connecting with is Captain Marvin, and I've said this over and over and over. I think Sarah Finn should be the one who should cast every celebrity for every project. Unfortunately, that's not how it works, right? Mm-hmm. So she's the one who does all the casting over at Marvel. She's amazing at it, right?
Right.
And I think she goes through a huge, when it comes to casting, a huge process, if you may, right? Because she not only fit these actors and actresses into this specific role, but it's, if you are a fan or a lover of the comic, seeing some of them taking on that persona, you're like, okay, the casting director is only one person, right?
That makes sense.
But it's like she's so spot on with what she's doing that you can't help be like, wow. And every single character outside of Carol Danvers, I connect with.
All right.
I'm really excited to see how this Eternal story is going to pan out.
Do you feel like that's because of Seraphine's choice in Brie Larson, or do we feel like that's Brie Larson?
No. I thought it was Brie Larson, but when I watch one of these What If episodes, because Brie Larson voiced her character, and I watched the episode and I said, "Oh my goodness, that's Carol Danvers."
She did and that was one of the things that got me. Is I never felt like the character that Brie Larson played was any less than the Carol Danvers I knew, but I didn't like the movies that she was, the placement that she was in throughout the MCU. And I felt like in what we saw in each one of them, it was very Carol. It was very much like a reprisement of the actual Carol Danvers that we're used to. So it almost made me kind of excited to see what we're gonna get moving forward.
But listen, if we get the Carol Danvers that we have seen in the What If series, then I'm all on board. Right? Because Captain Marvel is up there in my top 5 worst MCUs, and it's because I couldn't connect. I couldn't relate, because a long time ago, my 3 favorite, one of them was Carol Danvers. Yeah. One of them, of course, was Aurora Monroe, which is my favorite all times. And then another one was Carol Danvers. She was like number 2, right? Yeah. So to have a connection with this character and to follow this character for so long, and then I get an actress or performance correction, because I think Brie Larson is a great actress. Yeah. She knows her craft, right? Right. But however the director directed, even the story, you could say, well, is how she was written, right? Then change the way you write her. Exactly. I think some of that had to do with directing, right? Because a director can come in and say, this is your lines, this is how it's written. I need for you to give me this. Exactly. You're too flat, you're too robotic. I need you this way. I need you that way. I need you to portray. And an actress or an actor who knows their craft can say, okay, right? Right. To a point like, again, and I know I'm biased, when T'Challa is confronting his father and the ancestors, and he was like, you were wrong. All of you were wrong. And he's crying. You can't tell me in that moment you're not feeling something. Right. You got to make me feel something. As weak as the Ant-Man movies are, I always have a connection to Scott Lang because Paul Rudd has even when he's being silly, he has a way of connecting to to the way that you would really behave about certain things. Okay, let me ask you a question. What we got from him in Ant-Man or as Scott Lang, did we get Peyton Reed or we got Paul Rudd? Paul Rudd is just the actor. Yeah. The director still have to direct a certain way. That's true. And I do feel like given the right situation, she can definitely be molded into whatever you need her to be. So it's like the fact that you see her playing this role in other facets, it shows that immediately. It's like, okay, it's not her. It's like Peggy. Haley Atwell, right? Yeah. You see her one way as Peggy, right? Yeah. But you see her as Agent Carter. It's totally different. And when you see her as Captain Carter, you're like, oh my. Bro, there's times where she moving better than Steve with that shield. I think you're onto something, because like the Captain Carter was already a fighter. Mm-hmm. Steve Rogers wasn't really a fighter. He was somebody who had to learn to fight given the situation because he was given a serum that allowed him to do things that he never expected to. Yeah. Captain Carter was always Agent Carter before she was the captain. You could even see like in the beginning of that episode, and she was training while he's rehabbing his body. Exactly. Yeah. So it's like her mindset to everything was just leagues beyond what Steve was, because she started from a different vantage point. Yeah. Steve always had the heroism. He was always going to be a hero because he lived that. Yeah. It shows that even in the Captain Carter episode, it's not like he without the serum stayed on the sidelines. He didn't. He jumped into. So let me ask you a question: Was it always his what they call it absolute point to be a hero? I think so. I think that Steve Rogers would always be in the mix to some extent. He never got a serum. Nope. He was never a super soldier. Nope. Just a guy in the military who didn't like bullies. That still became a hero. That's it. And that's and I think his character just exemplified that. That's all you need. And we actually got what an absolute point is later on in the show. If I'm not mistaken.